Dwayne Tanaka, greetings everyone. This is Eagle Elk. I have my family, Ramona Big Eagle, on the call with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about unity. She has a magnetic personality, and every time I see her, she makes me smile because how she's smiling. She's just got that type of personality. So she's the perfect person to talk about unity since she's been around in the culture for quite a while as a storyteller, but I'm not going to give it away. I'm going to ask Ramona to introduce herself, tell you a little bit about herself.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chief Lavelle. I appreciate that. As he said, my name is Uweski Usteakwa Wohale. Don't worry, you don't have to say all that. In English, it's Ramona Moore, Big Eagle. And all my friends just call me Ramona, so you're welcome to call me that. I am from the Tuscarora Nation of North Carolina, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a legend keeper, oral historian, and environmental educator, and you name it. I'm all kinds of stuff. A mom of 3 fantastic children and 8 absolutely fantastic grandchildren. Got to put that in there. Absolutely. And it just amazes me the times that we're living in. And that's how this conversation really got started. Chief Lavelle and I were talking this morning, and he said, "Oh, wait a minute. We need to put this on an interview." I go, "What? we're just talking." So I'm ready for any questions you want to ask, and we'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, being a storyteller, do you find that being a storyteller as a way to bring unity between people?
Most definitely. In fact, that was you could have asked that question better than if I had set it up, because the answer involves me just kind of bragging on myself. In fact, you can go to my TED Talk on TED.com, put in my name, Ramona Moore, Big Eagle. And in my TED Talk, I talk about the fact that storytelling has the power to bridge cultures. I do a lot of storytelling workshops, and I can take a room. It doesn't matter how many people. You can have 100, you can have 1,000 people there, complete strangers. And within 10 minutes, I can have all of them laughing with each other, crying with each other, and getting each other's phone numbers because they want to continue the stories. I just have them turn and talk. And I usually have them, first story I have people tell, I tell them they can only take 2 minutes to do it. Turn and talk and tell your partner, someone that you don't know, what's the funniest thing that ever happened to you. First person takes 2 minutes, they laugh. Second person takes 2 minutes. Okay, by now they're all laughing, okay? Then I say, okay, second story I have them tell about a time that you thought you could not make it through. It was over with. And somehow you pulled through. Tell us what it was and how you pulled through. 2 minutes. And I'm telling you, you see people crying. You see people patting each other on the back. You see people cheering each other on. All the power of story. And that's why I say we spend so much time being divided, talking about what we don't like about this and what we don't like about that. Instead of wasting time on the negative, talk about what you do like. Talk about what we have in common. Talk about how that when you were growing up, your parents would say, "I remember when." You go, "I'm never going to be like that." And lo and behold, you're the same way now. Because you can't believe the prices, just like your parents couldn't believe the prices that things have gotten to. I used to think when my dad would say, "I can remember when a soda was 5 cents." I'd go, "I'm never going to be like that." And I heard myself say this so another day. I can remember when canned goods were 4 for $1. And you're telling me that one can is $1.99? What in the world? So yes, stories definitely unite us.
I know that's pretty big, and that's pretty big in a lot of different cultures, not just indigenous cultures here. So it must be something really important about it. Now, I've seen your 3 daughters' pictures floating around the internet, and they're beautiful, by the way. And I know you're very proud of them.
Yes, I am. But it's really just 2 daughters. And the third person you see, she's like my adopted daughter. You're talking about Kia. So
Okay.
Amber and Stephanie and Kia, those are pictures that are on the internet. But I have 2 daughters and 1 son.
Okay. And they're very
As he likes
involved.
to say, he's the brains and they're the beauties.
He's the brains and they're the beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
we were talking this morning about the division that we see. And of course, we do see, I mean, the climate, the environment, everything that you look at is geared towards keeping us divided against each other. And as much or as hard as we go at it, speaking against division, it just seems to creep in anyway from all corners. It's like water, it finds cracks to get in. And we were talking about ethnocentrics and all that kind of stuff. I've been called an ethnocentric. And by definition, an ethnocentric is an individual who believes their ethnic group is superior to others. And I just, that is the furthest from the truth. I just can't get it. Like we were speaking this morning, we have family who come in all shades and colors. And it doesn't matter if you are, and I haven't seen anybody charcoal black or pasty white, but it really doesn't matter if you did come in those colors and anything in between, as long as you had the blood, and you your bloodline heritage, I'm going to respect you for who you are. And if you are related to me, you're my cousin, regardless of how you look. And I hope that regardless of how I look, that's also reciprocated, that that's returned. But what is your take on um, people judging with their eyes instead of with the spirit?
Well, first off, you are exactly right. There's too much of that going on, but it's by design. I'm a ferocious reader. I live in a house for a personal library of over 35,000 books. I've read some of every single book that I have in the house. And I started this library when I was in 2nd grade. So I have everything I've ever had read since 2nd grade. And, if you ever get a chance to read the Willie Lynch letters, that explains it right there. Where Massa says, oh, you don't have to kill them. Just get them divided. Just get the house servant. That's not what he says, servant. But anyway, just get the house servant against the field servant and get the light servant against the dark servant. He said, that's all you got to do. Get the ones with the straight hair against the ones with the curly hair. You ain't got to kill them. They'll kill themselves. That's the essence of the Willie Lynch letters. And that is still in effect to this day. And what we need to realize is all of us have the same enemy, the same group of people that consider themselves to be the elite category. And as a result, they pit us against each other so that we're so busy with these little mundane arguments that we don't see what they're doing to us. They're killing us with the food. They're killing us with the TV. They're killing us with drugs. Don't even get me started on COVID. I mean, they're killing us with everything, and it's by design. And what they do is they'll start off making things look like it's for your convenience. And then we find out, no, it wasn't for our convenience. It was for their convenience to kill us. The foods that we eat in this country, they aren't even, the things that are in those foods are banned in most countries, but we allow it here because depopulation's in progress. So all these little things that we argue about, it's by design to keep us divided because they are afraid of us. Now, that's just a fact. There's a new term for us people of color. I've seen all these different changes, and it's just amazing. I'll never forget the first time I saw the word BIPOC. I thought, what's BIPOC? Black, indigenous people of color. I go, oh, okay, I like that. Now, though, we are called, let me think of it. The global majority. That's it. And I knew back in 4th grade. See, they don't teach it like this anymore. But I knew back in 4th grade that that, the cradle of civilization was Africa. Okay. And since they've had, research has proven that. Okay. And from there, all the different races came, except for maybe the mutants. I won't even go into that one, but I'm just saying. So when you talk about color of skin, when you talk about race, which is a human construct, race is really no such thing. And, in the religious books of wisdom, there's not race. There's just different groups of people based on where they live. Okay. And within those groups, you got all kinds of everything, skin color, hair texture, all of that. So it's nothing that we should be disagreeing about, fussing about. We should be banding together to fight the enemy. And I'm talking about on all fronts. Fight the enemy of racism, fight the enemy of depopulation. Like everyone's saying how AI is so good for us. It's going to be so convenient. Like I said, first they start with what appears to be convenient for us, but really it's just the opposite. It's convenient for them to get rid of us. So all those different arguments that people are having about, well, I'm from this tribe's better than that tribe. No, I'm Afro-Indigenous and we're better. All of us are better. There's no argument about any of it because all of us are better. All of us have been here from the very beginning and everyone comes from us. Whether you're talking about the indigenous of Africa or the indigenous of North America, we are all of us, people that are red, black, yellow, brown, all of us, the global majority are I think, superior. And let me just tell you one of the reasons why I think that. If you'll notice in our society, they only give us so much leeway. And the reason is because in every area that we don't, they restrict us. The areas where they restrict us, they're afraid we'll dominate and take over. You know what I mean? Think about it. Yeah. In sports, oh my goodness, we dominate. Hands down, we dominate. Okay. When you talk about the global majority, red, black, brown people, we dominate in sports. When it comes to dance, oh my goodness, hands down, we dominate. Okay. Hands down. When it comes to music, we dominate. Rhythm, we dominate. So now, why don't they want us in the areas of politics and finances? Because they're afraid that we will what? Dominate. And we will. That's why they don't want us in those areas. That's why they fight so hard to keep us from those areas. And how do they fight to keep us from those areas? By getting us to argue among ourselves on these little things that don't even matter. Because in the final analysis, when God forbid that there would be an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, but let's say there was one, when everything is off grid, cars, electronics, you name it, lights, everything's going to go kaput, okay? And we're going to have to go back to the primitive skills of the indigenous people, be it indigenous of Africa, be it indigenous of North America. We're going to have to go back to those skills. And if that should happen, I personally believe it will. When that happens, something, it's not going to matter what color someone's skin is. It's not going to matter what tribe they're from. What's going to matter is, do you know how to make fire? Do you know how to take animal hides and make clothing? Do you know how to take water from the lake, from the pond, and filter it so it's fresh drinking water? Do you know how to grow food? Those are going to be the skills that everyone's going to need to have or know someone that has those skills. It won't, all these other things that they've been having us divided with, none of that will matter. So let's realize now that none of those things matter and work together. I was at a conference. It was, I won't name the conference, but anyway, I was at a conference up near Asheville. And it was the Earth Skills Conference, okay, where you learned Earth skills. So like, and I go to lots of them. So like, I know how to take kudzu and cook kudzu. Kudzu is plentiful, okay? When you have nothing else, you got kudzu every place. You can make jam out of kudzu. You can make like meatloaf out of kudzu. You can make clothing out of kudzu paper. You can name everything you can name or think of. You can do it with kudzu, okay? And like, we learned all kinds of earth skills and stuff. And one of the things, they had different camps, and one of the camps was called Culture Camp, and it was with the global majority. And the biggest thing that was said, and I was so glad to hear everyone say this, they said, why are they teaching others our skills? Why aren't we teaching these courses? And so, you know what we all decided? It was about 12 of us. We decided, yeah, why aren't we? We need to start a conference, a festival in which we teach the skills that are in our DNA, in our groups of people, our people groups, our culture. Those earth skills came from us. Mm-hmm. We're the ones that taught, the ones that are teaching the class, we're the ones that taught them how to do that. We're the ones that taught them when's the right time to pick poke salad and how to cook it. They didn't know until we taught. So that's just one of thousands of examples of indigenous culture that they're capitalizing on, calling it earth skills. But we're the ones that grew up with those earth skills, and we're the ones that need to be teaching. If ever there was a time when we need to be working together with each other to teach each other those skills that have been forgotten or poo-pooed because I'm advanced and I'm into technology, now's the time for us to be doing that. We need to put aside all these idiosyncrasies that all of us have, forget about those things, and work together with each other so that we survive as a result of working together. Divided, we fall. We all have heard that, but it's so true. Divided, we will fall. United, we stand. So,
from your understanding, Big Eagle, didn't our ancestors, especially our Tuscarora ancestors, do you think they turned away people because they was too dark when it was time to fight the colonists? You're too dark.
Yes.
We don't want you to help us.
Right. Definitely so. I definitely think that.
Yeah.
And and I will say this, I think it's more so now though than it was then, because I think people had more of a sense of unity then, just because they had to stay together, they had to unify, be united, because of survival. But now, you know, we've got it made. We live in our own houses, you know, we got our cars, you know, we got money in the bank, we got clothes on that you can look at the designer label and know we spent a lot of money on it. So now we rely on superficial junk. Okay, the color of someone's hair, skin, the curl of their hair to divide us. But yes, most definitely. And we got that from the colonists. And that's why I'm so upset and always have been. You know, we let our enemy teach us their racist ways, and we adopted those ways as if that was the way it was supposed to be. We let them teach us that. We knew differently from the very beginning, but we adopted their ways, just like the 5 civilized tribes. People always say, well, why were they called civilized? Because they looked upon the colonists as civilized, and they felt like if they adopted their ways, their manner of dress, their manner of home and everything, that they would be considered smart and the right, you know, the right everything, so they would be accepted. Of course, it backfired. They still didn't accept the 5 civilized tribes and made them walk from Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Florida, on over to, you know, what was called Indian Territory at that time, now known as Oklahoma.
And still today, they still hold on to those ideologies.
Yes, they still to this day, not realizing those were the very tools that the colonists used against us. I remember when I first heard that the Cherokee, and not just the Cherokee, other tribes too, but I remember hearing about the Cherokee because my dad he's passed now, but my dad was Cherokee, my mother's Tuscarora. But when I heard that the Cherokee people had their free their enslaved people that went with them on the walk, that had been a part of that nation, part of those people, they took them off the roads. I mean, how do you take your brother off the road just because their skin color is different from yours? Especially when you know that your great grandfather looked like those people that you took off the roads. Amazing.
Happened with the Choctaw as well. It happened with a lot of the freedmen in the 5 civilized tribes.
Exactly. Yes, it did. And that's a tragedy. That is such a tragedy. But again, another example of dividing us so that we did not stay united to take over. And I mean, we just need to realize that's what it's been about all along. Like I said, every area that we go into, we dominate. I mean, it's not even questioned. We dominate it. That's why they don't want us in politics. They don't want us in the financial realm. They'll let us with the music and the dance and the sports. You watch. Well, it's evident every day. They don't want us when it comes to economics. They don't want us in politics because they're afraid we'll do what we've done in every other mountain of influence, and that's dominate.
Right. Build with your hands. Get a trade, and which is good. Learning how to build.
Yeah.
But when it comes to finances, that's something
they don't want us there.
Right. So let me ask, going back, so in the 1700s, during the time of when the Tuscarora were fighting against being enslaved,
1710 through 1713, yeah.
From your understanding, they didn't care if you were. They didn't care. Our folks didn't care if you were dark skinned or whatever. Come on and help us fight.
Right, exactly. And then, like I said, that's how it was originally. And then the colonists started feeding those lies and deceptions to our people. But originally, especially you look at the Seminole people in Florida, that was exactly how they were. Hey, we don't care whether you're enslaved people or what. We all have the same enemy. We all beat the drum to the heartbeat. Let us be allies. Let us stand together to defeat our common enemy. And the Seminoles did a great job of that. They weren't taking no junk from the colonists. But unfortunately, in this area, North Carolina, South Carolina, we listened to the colonists and bought into their ideology of racism. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, I want to talk about the medicine wheel real quick. The medicine wheel supposed to be a representation of the 4 main races, and of course it's not.
Yep.
It's not gonna nail down every single nationality out there, because within Asia you have people who are the darkest of the dark, and then you have people who are in the middle, who they call yellow, and then you have some folks over there that's pretty fair skinned.
Right. But
that medicine wheel, that yellow part of the medicine wheel, is supposed to
represents our Asian brothers and
sisters. From your point, can you give me your understanding of the medicine wheel, how it can be used as a teaching instrument?
Okay. To me, yes, I could hear you. On so many fronts, the medicine wheel is the way of life, I believe. It represents, like you said, the 4 races of men: red and yellow, black and white. They are precious in the Creator's sight. And of course, you have not seen any people that are red or that are yellow, but those colors represent the red people, the black people, the yellow, the white. Okay. Just like those 4 colors also represent the 4 seasons, starting off in January with winter, then you go to spring, then you go to autumn or fall, winter. It represents the 4 seasons. It represents the 4 stages of life. You start off as an infant, a baby, then you go to adolescent, then you go to adult, then you go to elder. It represents those 4 colors represents so much of all of our life. And if we would just adopt, like a lot of people say, well, well, anyway, there are a lot of people that have a lot of different ideas, but it's a fact. Those four colors represent the races, they represent the seasons, the stages of life. They represent us, people. And if we would just look at how a circle, that's why whenever I do a workshop, I always have people sit in a circle, because the circle has no end, no beginning, and it has no better than or less than, no higher up and lower. It has none of that. Everyone's equal on a circle. That's why the medicine wheel with the four colors is representative of life. It is our life. It's the way life was intended to be. But again, we get so mixed. So on the medicine wheel, those four colors have four equal quadrants. Okay, just like life, just like the people. And when we step away from the medicine wheel, the truth of the medicine wheel, which is to value every color, every person, every trade, everybody for whatever they do, they are to be valued, to be appreciated. When we step away from that, that's when we get into all these little things that don't matter. That's when we get into all the different biases. And again, by design, they're planned to keep us apart from each other, because they're afraid of what we can and what we will do if we unite. And, one of their biggest fears, and this is really crazy, I didn't realize this as a kid, but I realize it now as an adult. A lot of them are afraid that if we get in power, that we'll do to them what they've done to us. There's a book of wisdom that says that the heart of man is desperately wicked. Okay. And so they're afraid that we'll do to them what they've done to us. What they don't realize is we don't have time for that. Let's just move forward. Sure, everything that was done in the past wasn't right, wasn't equal, all this. But right now, I'm concerned with survival and living in excellence in whatever area and endeavor I go into. So let's be concerned with that right now. Let's see how we can help each other. See, you have some skills that I don't have that I need, and I need to sit and listen and learn from you. I have some skills that you don't have that you need to sit and listen and learn from me. Well, that's true of every single person on this planet. As I was telling my grandchildren the other day, everyone has an area of genius. And my grandson, he's 14. Yeah, he looked at me like, not me. I go, oh yes, you. You have an area of genius. You might not have discovered what it is yet, but you have an area of genius. I said, and you need to talk to your parents and ask them to help you discover what it is so that they can help you nurture that. So, awesome. That's true for all of us. We all have an area of genius, and all of them are valuable. Like, there are just so many examples. All you gotta do is just look at people. When I was growing up, my dad was a great people watcher. My dad would take us to bus stations, airports. This is back when you could sit in the area of where the planes took off and watch. My dad would take us to airports, bus stations, Central Station in DC. We would go and just sit. He taught us how to watch people without staring and without being noticed. Oh, I learned so much. I mean, I think about different examples. I remember the first time I saw two ladies. I thought they were ladies. They had the most extravagant eye makeup on and lipstick and hairdos I'd ever seen. And after we passed them, my father said, "You saw those two ladies?" He said, "Those weren't ladies, those were men." My brother and I went, no way. He said, "Yes." And so my brother and I ran back the other way so we could come facing him. And I mean, we forgot every rule of etiquette my dad ever taught us. We were straight out staring, okay, because we had never seen anything like this in our life. And my dad said, "Oh, no, you don't do that. You don't do that. You could get killed. You could get hurt doing that. You don't stare." He said, "You don't make fun." He said, "Someone's lifestyle," and I'll never forget this. I'm just like in 5th grade, okay? My dad said, Someone's lifestyle might not be the lifestyle you choose, but that's their choice. You let them live the way they want, and you live the way you want. He said that's what America is about. We all have freedom of choice. I mean, that was gold.
That's
You hear me? That was gold when my dad taught us that. Let me just tell you one other thing too. I mean, one time we were sitting at a bus station, and it was this guy with this huge afro. I mean, we couldn't help but notice him because his afro was so cool. You know how they're jealous of our hair, by the way, because our hair defies gravity. But anyway, that's another whole story about their jealousy of our color, our skin tones, our hair curl, and all of that. But anyway, so this guy is sitting there with a hamburger on his plate. He picks up the hamburger, the bun and everything, and the hamburger falls on the floor. I'm talking about a dirty, filthy floor at a bus station, okay? And this guy, and we're watching him. He doesn't know we're watching him because my daddy taught us how to look without being observed. So he looks around. When he thinks no one's watching, he reaches down, picks up that hamburger off the floor, puts it back in the bun and eats it. And my brother and I went, oh, I mean, we were so grossed out. And my dad said, you don't know what you'll do when you get hungry enough. He said, you don't know what that was his last dollar that he spent on that meal. He might not have another meal till tomorrow or next week. He said, you can't judge him and think badly of him just because he ate that hamburger. He said, you take it for granted that I have food on the table every day and you all eat whatever you want and get to go to the store and pick out junk food and stuff. He said, but that kid, he said, I guarantee he's a college student. He's on his way back to school. He doesn't have no money. He said, that hamburger was probably the only meal he's going to have today. Yeah, he ate that hamburger, and you would too if you were in his shoes. And when we said no, we wouldn't, he said, yes, you would, because you wouldn't be you. You would be him, and you do just what he did. Boy, if my dad didn't teach me a lesson that has stuck with me to this day when he said that. He taught us, my dad was such a wise man. My dad was a barber. That's one of the reasons why he was so wise. You all know that every barber knows everything that's going on in town. He's got a commentary about it too.
Yeah, there was a local guy here where I'm at. His name was Bo Pete. He passed away quite a while ago, but me and my brother and sister, I think they seen it. I know I did. He was eating out of the trash can, and that was a life lesson Dad gave me. He said you can't judge people because you never know their situation, they were in, and that applies today too. Because I mean, we're all walking different. Yeah, I mean, you never know. Somebody can be a day from being evicted out of their house or losing their house or losing their apartment, lost their job, or lost a loved one. I mean, you just never know. People have bad days. You just never know. Put yourself in their shoes sometimes, and sometimes that'll make you think a little different.
Right.
Yep.
One of my stories is it takes place like in New York or so, and this man is on the L train, or that the subway thing, and his children are just all over the place, laughing, screaming, running after each other, doing all the things that kids do outside, but they're on the subway, okay, in the subway train. And finally, people all around him are all ignoring and everything. Finally, a guy goes, "Sir, I noticed that your children are just running wild, and you're just kind of sitting here like kind of, just stone faced like." And the guy said, "Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to tell my children what just happened." He said, "We just came from the hospital and my wife died. And I'm still in shock over the whole thing. And I don't know how to tell the children that they've lost their mother." When that guy heard that, he thought, oh my goodness, like you just said, you never know what someone's going through. And you know what he did? He put his arms around him and said, "I'm sorry, man. Let's," and he just comforted him. He gave him words of encouragement and comfort and prayed with it. That was what that man needed right then. But all the onlookers on that train, all they could think about was, the kids are running all over the place, being a nuisance. They're loud. They never once stopped to think, what's going on with that dad? Maybe there's something I could do to help him. Maybe I should go over and smile and just talk to him. Just that one man did that. But that was what the father who lost his wife needed. You just never know.
So we're too gentle.
Say it again.
Well, I want to ask you one more thing. I want to ask you one more thing here. If you let's pretend that you're in a room class and you have an audience of people who are under the spell. The spell I'm talking about is this colonial-minded spell, this narrow-minded spell, this spell of division. And what would be your closing remarks?
Okay, you broke up on the last part. What was your question?
What would be your closing remarks to the people in the room listening to you? You're addressing the spell that we're under of division. What would be your remarks, your closing remarks to that?
My closing remarks would be this. Just as we just said in the past 2 minutes or so, you never know what people are going through. So don't assume that the smile on their face means that, oh, everything's cool. They're not doing anything. They're just crazy, or they're just selfish, or whatever you might think they are. You don't really know what people are going through until you talk to them, until you hear their story. So instead of looking at people, judging them, get to know them. Say hi to people. Some people just need a smile sometimes. They just need a hello. And everybody needs a hug and a story every day. We are so hug deficit and story deficit in this society. And that's one of our biggest problems. We don't take the time to get to know the person behind the mask, because all of us are wearing a mask at different times of the day. You see people, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. And they might have just gotten it, like you said, got an eviction notice. Oh, I'm doing fine. And their wife just left them. Their husband just left them. I'm doing fine. And they just spent their last dollar and don't know how they're going to make it for the rest of this week, let alone this month. You never know what people are going through. And because you don't assume that the mask you see tells the story. Get to know the people. You think someone's stuck up, and it could be that they've been through so much. Every effort they have goes into survival and holding their head up. They're not stuck up. They're just trying to overcome the grief and the suicidal thoughts that they're going through. So when they hold their head up, it's because they made themselves do that so they won't sink into the depths of suicide that are killing so many of our children and our people. So when you see someone, just realize, I have no idea what this person's going through, but I know that this person, like me, has needs. And I won't know what their needs are or how I could possibly be a part of meeting that need until I talk to them, until I hear their story. Take time to hear people's stories. Take time to get to know them. Because when you really get to know people, take time to get to know them, you'll start to like them. And you might even be surprised that you might even start to love them. And find out that this racist that you thought was so big and bad as a racist might just find they're just a scared little kid, because when they were a little kid, they saw whatever it was they saw. And from that point on, they listened to racist views and adopted them. But true life, they're just a scared little kid that never sit down with a person of color to find out they're just like them, to find out that they used to eat hot dogs on the end of a stick when they went camping. They used to do marshmallows just like they did. When you see the things that you have in common, that person becomes less scary, less mean, less bad. They become just like you, because all of us have some of the same fears, same hopes, same dreams, saying goes, but you won't know that until you take time to get to know the person. So get to know people.
Exactly.
Listen to their story.
We go to the same
Stop
schools. We shop at
judging.
the same stores.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
exactly.
in the same together. And taxation, that hits
Woo.
everyone. This debt slavery, everyone is subject to that.
Hmm.
We're all in this thing together. And with
That's
the
right.
with Earth Mother and everything that we're dealing with the land, with the water, with the air, with the food, we're all subject to that.
Oh,
And
yes.
the powers in us coming together to combat those who are trying to depopulate us through the food,
Hmm.
through the water,
Right.
and contaminating our land and our air. And
Yes.
until you folks out here listening get that and stop trying to use Afrocentrism, trying to use ethnocentrism and all these other ideologies to continue to perpetuate this division,
Hmm.
we're if you don't get it, we're in trouble.
That's right. You're exactly right. And I would love for you to have me back on another day so I can talk about our food. I'd love to talk about food.
Absolutely. And by the way, that plate that you're eating on, you got me. I'm hungry. So,
All vegan too. No meat products, no dairy, no processed junk, all natural, vegan, organic food. And I want
nice.
to talk to
I'm
people
definitely going to
about
bring you back
how,
on so we can talk about food.
oh, great. Because next
I'm
time I
definitely
want
going
to
to
talk
bring you back
about,
on to talk about.
yes, I want to. I want to talk about let food be your medicine, let your medicine be your food.
Whew, you got it. Well,
Okay.
Ramona Moore, big, I really appreciate you taking the time to share with everyone your wisdom. Thank you so much. And Yahweh, Yahweh.
Yahweh, thank you so much. I
We'll talk
appreciate
soon.
you. Okay.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.